kings and priests, those who have claimed their full right, and those who have not yet, greetings. In this video, I want to take the time to revisit the work that I've accomplished thus far and reveal the quest that lay ahead of me. The start of my YouTube channel was on January 3rd, 2021, and I kicked it off with a video where I was talking about all the items that I purchased for my music studio. I created this video to get a feel for recording, speaking to a camera, video editing, and uploading something on YouTube. This video was the first step towards something big. It was just to get the momentum moving forward in YouTube. A month later, on February 1st, I published my first performance, which was the full movement of the Vivaldi Concerto in A minor. I was taking violin lessons according to the Suzuki method, and this was recorded as a way to pass off the graduation piece for Suzuki Book 3. Instead of doing a live performance, I made it a virtual one. This wasn't something that was required of me, this was just something that I wanted to do. My former violin teacher, Chad J. Williams, put together the accompaniment for this concerto. After that, I published a vlog on February 14th where I talked about my short experience in creating YouTube content. I expressed the challenges of creating my first two videos and the challenges of recording the concerto. As I mentioned, it was the full movement, which consisted of 3 movements, and I recorded those back to back, which was pretty stressful. On March 8th, I published a vlog where I talked about the purpose of my channel, and that was to give me the incentive to perfect the music that I practiced, which would push me to grow as a musician. The minor reasons for the channel was to create an audience and to have some income from my content, which hasn't happened yet. So what is the purpose of my channel today? Did it stay the same? If it changed, how so? Well, it did change. I'm no longer playing live instruments since I transitioned to composing music with MIDI. I'm still growing as a musician, or perhaps as a music producer, but instead of presenting performances, my channel is now about presenting my creative work in music composition and in some visual art as well. At the time of this recording, my subscriber count is at 86, and the majority of my subscribers I've personally met. But that will change soon, and you could help that happen by clicking subscribe right now. Moving along, I needed to figure out how to have different backgrounds for each performance. Since each performance was recorded live, it needed to be in a controlled environment. The idea that I had was to set up green screen equipment with minimal setup and tear down efforts for recordings. So I came up with this whole contraption and fit it into my bedroom. After I got that set up, I started working on the project that I envisioned doing with the green screen. The Parting Glass was published on August 28th of 2021, and I played all the instruments for this project. It was at this time that I got the idea of using in-game footage as my background. Without delay, I started working on my next project, which was the song cover for Epilogue by Elevati. This project was published on December 23rd, 2021, and I played the tin whistle and the red pipes for this song cover. After that, I took a long break. In January of 2022, I had a job change that benefited me. Higher pay rate, shorter commute, and I worked with servers and computers in an office environment, which I enjoyed. Also, the office culture was phenomenal. So big shout out to the director of that job site. You know who you are. Alongside that, I was focusing on other priorities. Also, I was practicing the Suzuki Book 4 graduation piece. Finally, on August 6th of 2022, I published the Bach Concerto for 2 violins, second violin. Chad composed the accompaniment piece for this concerto as well. Then I jumped into my next project, which was a cover song for the Wolven Storm Priscilla song from the game The Witcher 3. This was my first song that was fully MIDI composed, and it was a trial song to determine whether I would continue with MIDI. The only studio equipment that I had was a laptop and an audio interface, and that's it. Doing everything with the mouse was challenging, but I persevered through it. This was also my first song that I got professionally mastered by a mastering engineer. I worked with Kevin McRae to get this track mastered. The Wolven Storm project was published on December 10th of 2022. and satisfied with the results of this project, I determined to move forward with MIDI composition, and I built my first studio desk that revolved around the MIDI workflow. So throughout January of 2023, I worked on putting together this studio desk. So a couple key points on why I made this transition. First, I realized that I was not able to master every single instrument that I wanted to play. So MIDI gave me the ability to play all the instruments that I dreamed of playing. Second, playing live instruments required a lot of strength and willpower, especially when lacking those after coming home from work. However, with MIDI composition, I found that I easily got into a workflow state, and I could spend hours on the computer creating, composing, and mixing. So with this new direction in my music journey, the green screen setup was no longer necessary. And before tearing down the green screen equipment, I documented the setup and published the video on February 15th of 2023. In May of 2023, I took the month to create a song production workflow as I watched through Isotope's Are You Listening series on mixing music. This was done before mixing my next project, and that was the song cover Dolorous by Corpaclani, which was published on July 23rd, 2023. This was my second song that was MIDI composed and my first song that was composed in the metal genre. Afterwards, I took another long break. Around that time, I moved to a different house due to certain major life events. And then I took a few months to address a backlog of tasks. And in October of 2023, I started my next project, which was Radiant Hope. This was my first original song and my first song that was distributed via TuneCore across multiple digital stores and streaming platforms. The official release date for the song was March 22nd, 2024, and this was a huge milestone. This was also the song that launched my official artist name, Artos the Seeker. And with much power came much responsibility. There was a bunch of logistics that came with releasing a song, and the long checklists that people proposed online of what to do before a release and what to do after a release was quite overwhelming. However, my intention with the song was to get familiar with releasing and distributing music, so this was a learning process rather than trying to get things right. This was another one of those moments where I had to start somewhere and build momentum. This overall experience required me to remove my artist persona and put on the business persona as I went through a long checklist of items during pre-release, on the day of release, and post-release. After Radiant Hope was released, I was able to claim all my artist profiles except for YouTube. At that time, it required me to release 3 official songs in order to claim my YouTube artist channel. I wanted to create 2 vlogs, and I decided that it was a good idea to create background music for these videos. In my first vlog, I would talk about the inspiration behind my newly established artist name, which was published last week. And my second vlog would be, well, this vlog. So in April of 2024, I recorded both of these vlogs and edited them to get the approximate length for my songs. After taking care of a backlog of tasks, the planning for the Rise of the Seeker EP started in August. Composing my first track started in September, and I was done with it in January of 2025. And the second track was done in March. At the beginning of March, I had an urge to create a website for my brand. I was convicted by one of the teachings on finances by Andrew Womack, where it said that God supplies our needs through people. I wanted to receive financial support from others, but I had no way of receiving donations. So my website would be a place that would contain my story, my vision, my progress, and ways for people to partner with me in my vision. And then, at the end of March, I got laid off from my job. Yes, the one that I really enjoyed. Nobody wanted this, and I actually felt bad for my coworkers because I was in a unique position that supported the whole team. This was a company-wide layoff, and this time I happened to get thrown under the bus, or I guess rather thrown out of the bus, because I got up and started walking towards my vision. But I hit the ground running. In April, I finished creating my official website, and in 7 days, I finished composing my third track, which was awesome. This made me realize what I can accomplish without a job. I started mixing in May, and finished in June. My tracks were then peer-reviewed by a talented musician and mixing mastering engineer Andrew J. Clark, who gave phenomenal feedback, and it helped me take my mixes to the next level. I made the adjustments to my mixes and submitted them to Andy for mastering in July. Right after that, I took a music marketing course with Chris Greenwood, aka Manifest, which shook my understanding about the music industry and how to successfully get my music out to the world. It was overwhelming, and it seemed like this opportunity came out of nowhere. It really felt like God presented me with this opportunity to help me to grow and to prepare me for the grand adventure that is ahead of me. Now, here's where things get undone. By this time, YouTube requires only one official track in order for me to claim my YouTube artist channel. So now this EP was no longer necessary in order to claim my channel. And then, of course, the pre-recorded vlogs contained outdated information, and the lighting design wasn't that great, so I had to revise my script and reshoot the videos. However, the new videos have additional content in the scripts, so the tracks that I created to be background music for these videos are now too short. All that to say, waiting 1 year to publish a vlog is not ideal. You think? Not anymore, because now I know, and I grew an inch wiser. Nevertheless, the Rise of the Seeker EP album was my next major milestone in my music journey and was released recently on August 22nd, 2025. This was the first album that I released, and while the melody in Radiant Hope was derived from another song, all melodies in this album were original. So where does my journey lead to next? What is the quest ahead? What I had planned last year was a full-length LP album. It was supposed to be an instrumental album where I would improve upon my composing skills in MIDI. However, I feel like the Rise of the Seeker EP album was sufficient for that end. So in light of the new information that I've received in the past couple months, my next project will be a single followed by another single, and that will likely be followed by yet another single. These will be my first songs that will feature singing vocals, so I'm excited to see how that turns out. However, before I get into these projects, I have another surprise project that I'm thrilled to share. It has been on my heart for several months now, and I'm close to revealing it soon. I won't disclose it in this video, but be on the lookout for my next vlog announcement. If you're going to smash the like and subscribe buttons, the backside of a construction hammer would work perfectly for that. Be sure to aim the two prongs of the nail puller just right, because you only got one shot before wiping out your device. Thank you for watching, and always remember, Kingdom first.